Christians there in Corinth, that there are some things that endure. There are some things that abide. Some things that last forever. One of these things is faith. The writer of the book of Hebrews describes faith as the thing that gives substance to our hopes and makes us certain of realities that we do not see. Especially the things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen is the way the King James Version puts it. And the writer goes on to show how in the long drama of history, man's faith in God has enabled him to survive, has enabled him to grow, to conquer kingdoms, to enforce justice, and to receive the promise of a better life. Now, this writer did not mean to suggest that in the process that men were not broken and oppressed, were not beaten down and destroyed. But what he is saying that in all of this, their faith endured, their faith lasted. Now, Paul possessed faith like that. Faith that enabled a person to build his house, the house of his soul, on the foundation of Jesus Christ. When a man has faith that makes him certain of the realities of things that he cannot see, then he can face the change and decay. He can survive the whiplash of defeat. He can overcome powers and kingdoms. He can endure. The man who has a faith like that is sustained by something that abides, something that endures. And he feels upheld by the Spirit of God. And he is conscious that underneath are the everlasting arms giving him support. And Paul says that one of the things that abides is faith. A second thing that defies change is the firmament over our head. And I always thrill to stand out under a starry sky as I used to years and years ago, and I still do. I thrill to look up at the heavens and see those countless stars and to remember the question that the psalmist asked a long time ago when he said, "When I consider the moon and the stars, what is man that thou art mindful of him?" Well, we have questions sometimes too in the face of these things that are eternal and unchanging. Well, of course, if we know anything at all about the stars, we know that they are not really fixed, but they are in motion. And they are not silent, but they are raging infernos of atomic explosion. And yet, to all intents and purposes, we see the stars as fixed and timeless in the heavens. And then we're reminded that the same stars that shone down on Job centuries ago when he was writing about Orion, the star, and Pleiades. These are the same stars that are shining down on us today. When we stand out in the evening and looking at the constellations, and we see what we call the seven sisters. Those are the stars that made up Pleiades that Job was talking about a long, long time ago. These are the same stars that he saw, and they're the same stars that shine down on us. But the miracle of the stars is not their size, not their distance from us. The miracle of the stars is their light. The light which has been traveling across outer space at the rate of over 186,000 miles per second for a longer span of time than we can comprehend. That, I think, is the miracle of the stars that seem to be so fixed and so abiding in the heaven. And I would remind you that it is only when it grows dark that we can see the stars. And thus the stars become our assurance that life is not altogether desolate, and that God, who is light, is round about us at all times. But it is only when the darkness gathers that we are able to see His light brightly. Now, whatever else men may do, the stars remain as a symbol of hope. The great German philosopher Immanuel Kant expressed his hope this way. He said, "Two things fill my soul with always new and increasing wonder and awe: the starry heavens above us and the moral law within us." I think what he was talking about was that the first reminds us that God still reigns in the universe and that His light still shines. And the second confirms us in the hope that right is right, since God is God. It's not easy, is it, to maintain hope like this, especially when violence and moral corruption, defiance of law, and human apathy are so rampant as it is in our world today. And yet, as Paul so confidently affirmed it, there are three things that last forever. And one of them is hope. Faith, hope, and the third thing that never changes is life. Well, to be sure, life does not stand still. And perhaps the reason we get so confused is that we mistake circumstances for consequences. We mistake what happens to us for what God intends for us. And when you think of life standing up under the whiplash of hostile circumstance, I think there's only one commensurate parallel, and that is love. Love will never come to an end, is the way Paul expressed it. It abides unchanged forever. And in some strange way, love ministers to life. Love binds up its wounds, heals its hurts, removes its sting,